Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. So I don't have a lot of questions on the forums this week, so I'm suspecting it'll be a shorter week, which is fine. I've been trying to take a little bit of time away from making too many things on YouTube, like I said last week. So I made a couple more things over the last couple of weeks. Like I made a couple of Weeb few videos. I made a video about the behemoth encounter in Monster Hunter World for that collaboration. This coming week, we're gonna have to pick the pace up a little bit because we do have Weeb few actually launching on Friday. We have Dauntless and their patches, their steady patch schedule that they're going to be doing, where like they just release stuff kind of as it's ready instead of like bundling it in big packages, giggity, like they're doing for this coming week. And then we have Pagos, we have Rathalos, so we obviously got to have a bunch of stuff. I wasn't around for the launch of Anemos, so for me, Pagos will kind of be my first launch Eureka experience. But we will be live streaming all that stuff, tons of that over the week, and then we'll be posting some YouTube videos about them as well. But before we go into the Q&A, we want to thank our sponsors over on the Patreon. So people have been supporting us over on Patreon to combat #demonetized for quite some time at this point. And so we like to shout them out every week because it'd be pretty bad to not shout them out, in my opinion. At least I think it would be bad. So anyway, we have our sponsors. First one, we have our Patron of Light, Khuja Cross the Advent FC on Jenova, or, Khuja Cross on Jenova, whichever. Our Patron of Light's been supporting us big time over the last several months. And those of you on YouTube, you'll be seeing an image on the screen that they provide every time, because they take great screenshots. I'm not a screenshot, photographer kind of guy, so I just never do those kind of things. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty dope. So thank you for your continued support, our Patron of Light. We also have our very long list of sponsors. We got 3 tiers for the sponsors we call it: Standard, Elite, and Premium. Our standard sponsors include Remil Gaming, Sabo Empire, Mizra, Red Wings, Baron FC on Zalera, Fray Blackheart, Cidus, Oreo, and Shiva, Syd Hellwind of Gilgamesh, Afro Ninja from Malboro, Cheesecake from Leviathan, Sploda, That Lane Weeb, Ashen, Emiya, and Cerberus, Argoti, Tristam, and Midgardsormr, Fafarian, Rendil, Giraffeswillrule, Stevie-Rex, and Neon. We have our elite sponsors, Crimson and Talvia Swift of Coral, Just One Fox, Shadow Link on the Tomberry server, Dom, Asuka Wake from Jenova, Lemilia Nella of Midgardsormr, Sarah and the Avalanche family on Malboro, Janhyua Yotsuyu, Zernik, I always get their name wrong, Zernik of Org 13, Kifka and the Grey Eagles on Exodus, Dark Graver, Kadayoshi from Khuja, Skia Symphonia from Ragnarok, Rah Xephon from Exodus, Rynoet Westos, the Purple Warrior, Magic Red Steel on Exodus, Lexxie Valentine, Mantaru the Rivivus FC from Zodiark, Sour Cream and Chives from Jenova, Rynoet Chikara, Goetia Valfor of Siren, Hirschfirst of Fairy, Phoenix Down for Company on Goblin, and Saren from Zodiark. And finally, our premium sponsors. We're not done just quite yet. Kana Azuki of the Jenova server. We have a lot of people from Jenova who support. You guys are awesome. You Starla on Coral. Sathal, who just resubbed on Twitch as well, so double thank you for that one. Sarah Frost from Behemoth, Diablo, Holy Tabasco, Red Thorn Desura, Kernai Oni, Askin Hawk from Shiva, Crash015, Mustang, Sony FC on Ultros, Cat Kazuma, Serial Kira on Cactar, Ignis Fairgun from Diablos, Blestra of Fanfrit, Knock Quarters from Excalibur, Provost Moonscar, Private Mikey, Spike, Nani Kirasami, Rudy Rudiger, Tin Colossus, Killer Hackman, Rawl Jr., and Kiltastic Jones. Thank you to all of our sponsors over on Patreon. So let's find out if this is going to be a really short Mondays with Mrhappy, or at least if the Twitch chat can make it slightly longer with some decent questions. So we only have 6 questions on the forum, so let's get to that, shall we? All right, question number 1. Hey, Haps, the Monster Hunter crossover is coming soon to 14. It's already here. Oh, yeah, the Rathalos side will be here on Tuesday. And I'm excited for it, but only because I played Monster Hunter games. I feel like other games are using 14 to promote their products. This is common in other MMOs, and if the devs are using resources to sponsor these crossovers instead of creating original 14 content, isn't that bad? So first I'll answer the first thing. It's actually not all too common with too many MMOs. I mean, MMOs doing a promotion of some kind, I guess, isn't that out of the ballpark, but generally it's not done the way that kind of Square Enix does it, or I guess Japanese companies in general, because I guess the other game, when I think of an MMO that has lots of collaborations, I generally think of PSO or PSO2, for example. They've got collaboration. You don't even know if there's an original game under there when it comes to PSO2 because of the collaborations. Even 14, they took Odin and put him in there as part of a one-sided collaboration, which was kind of weird. And then, we've had Yokai Watch, we've had the Garo event, we've had Monster Hunter, we've had Final Fantasy 11, 2 of them. We've had Dragon Quest 11, we had Lightning Returns. Like, we've had all these collaboration events, and originally Square Enix seemed to be collaborating within their own company, and that's, I guess, right when 14 had relaunched. That was kind of the only collaborations they had the option of doing, because the game, I guess, hadn't really gotten past, I guess, proving that reworking it was a good idea in those times. But as years have gone on, Square Enix wants to do a lot less promoting within their own company, because a lot of people who play one Square Enix game, they generally are at least aware and don't need cross promotion for other Square Enix games. That's probably why we haven't seen the 15 collaboration, if there even will be one at this point, because I guess it just doesn't make a lot of sense to do. That's my speculation on that, but that's a video for another time. So now with these other companies that see it and they want to collaborate with it, you know, people like the people who work on Garo play the game, the people who work on Monster Hunter play the game. Like, so now these companies want to work together with it and do a two-sided promotion, which makes sense when you're doing cross promotion like that. You're trying to get an audience that you may not have already reached to try out your game. So that's why, you know, people who play 14 maybe haven't played Monster Hunter, because they're two completely different games, and the companies themselves get along and the developers get along, so it makes sense to do a collaboration there. So that's, I guess it's not really a super common thing in other MMOs. Generally, any sort of cross promotion in other MMOs is more so not really with like in-game content. It's more so with I guess external factors, I suppose, is the right way to put that. As for isn't it bad? Content's content. Like, the odds are anytime a collaboration comes out, you can look at the collaboration and see how much it probably was worked on. And then you have to determine what would have taken its place. The Garo event, for example, they didn't design any content around it. It's an NPC that hands you armor. So whose time is that using? That's using somebody's time who is the actual gear designer. And they don't even really need to, I guess, design it so much as replicate what's on Garo itself, what's on the show and the movies themselves. For something like Monster Hunter, though, like they went out and they went crazy. Like, this is good. This is a collaboration where we see it and we see the content and we know that, yeah, time and effort was put into it, but we look around and we don't really see anything that's been missing, I suppose. This is something that's new, it's different, and it's exciting because a lot of people do play both the titles. I'd say the only one that's kind of debatable whether or not it was okay was Yokai. And Yokai didn't even, like, again, Yokai was a minion, like a little bit of quest text, minions, and you know, 2 mounts, one of which is just a glowier version of the same mount. So I don't really feel like they take enough resources away to say that it's like bad for the game to have these things going. It just needs to be interesting. And the thing with Yokai and Garo is they pretty much didn't make content for them. They just put them in the game and said, go do fate farming or go do PvP. This has got like a whole new thing around it with brand new concepts that have never happened in our game before. And that's why it's exciting. It is new and unforeseen content that people couldn't have predicted. I mean, we were all shocked when it was first revealed. So I don't think it's bad. I think it could be bad if they did it wrong, but I don't think the way it's been done up till this point has been bad. It's just that Yokai Watch doing Fates was terrible. That's it. All right, question number 2. Hello, Mr. Happy. I hope you're having a good day. I am. It's been a relatively okay weekend. Stayed relaxed a little bit on Saturday. Didn't stream. Just kind of kicked back. Played a little bit of Warframe in my own time. Got my despairs off of the Shadow Stalker finally after getting 5 dreads. Ugh, that's all right. It was done. Gift of the Lotus got a pistol ribbon mod that was not great, and I can't even wear it because I don't have MR14 yet. And I played a little bit of 11. Didn't really do too much. Just kind of hung out AFK on that, which is, I guess, the true 11 experience. Friday I had sushi, and today I don't really have anything planned for today. I have this. I'm doing this. So it's been a good day. It's been a good weekend. Hopefully yours is going good as well. My question is, how do you think Dark would work in Stormblood like it did in Heavensward? For example, like how they used to have Scourge. I don't really understand the question. I'm guessing the gist of the question is, if it still played like it did in Heavensward, but they just added more skills in Stormblood, how do you think it would do? I mean, a lot of people kind of wish it did have some of the things in Heavensward. Scourge is a big one I've seen people named. Generally, it's just that when you're playing tanks at a really high level, you generally stay away from the aggro combo. And we used to laugh at Paladin for not really having much in the way of combo options way back when. And now Dark Knight's kind of been relegated into that. You pretty much just do 1, 2, 3, and it's just about spamming Dark Arts and making sure you use your off GCDs and your cooldowns when applicable. So it's just that it's lost a lot of, I guess, its involvement in terms of the flow of combat, and it's more about just Dark Arts, Dark Arts, Dark Arts, Dark Arts. And it just gets a little bit out of hand. So I think they could do with getting a 3rd tier combo back. I mean, they realistically could have left their 3rd combo that they had back in Heavensward. They could have left it alone, in my opinion. They've changed it to be what it is now because of the way that blood works. And I honestly, there are only a few jobs where I kind of would go back to the design of Heavensward in its entirety. Like Machinist, I wasn't like a huge fan of it, but I still kind of prefer it in Heavensward to the way it is now. Bard, I would keep the way it is now. I love Bard the way it is now. Ninja, I would go back to Heavensward, but Monk, I'm really happy with right now. So, like, it's a back and forth. For me, Dark Knight's one of those jobs I kind of feel like I'd have been okay if it's leaned more towards its Heavensward playstyle as opposed to its Stormblood one. And it's not even a job I play or I main, but it's a job I've at least experienced enough to feel that way about it. So I feel like it would probably not necessarily be a better job, but it would at least be more fun. For me. Just for me. I just don't think it's that fun right now. Question number 3. Hi, Mr. Happy. How you doing? I'm doing alright. You doing alright? I'm doing alright. Question number 1. Instead of making mini games based off minions, do you think they'll ever make a minion master job? So, anything that requires... If it requires a minion to collect... I guess I should read the whole thing. For example, it could have actions that summon a random minion of X type to essentially do a tag and healing barrier. Limit how many active minions can be on at the same time to keep it fair. It wouldn't actually matter which minion is called, just as long as the player is at least one at a time. Well, okay, so first of all, it sounds like you want the job to be multi-role. Eliminate that right now. Pick one role, stick to it, because that's not going to happen. Number 2, I guess if the minion doesn't necessarily have a unique function like it does on Lords of Verminion, where like every minion kind of has its own stats, its own speed, its own strength, its own passive, like as long as it's just the generic minion. But then you wonder, why not just develop something new? Like, why go out of the way to develop a job that just uses minions when you could make something new that is more exciting than summoning like an Amaric, for example, or new Eggy Glamours or something. So I mean, here's the thing. The questions like this, the answer is never. It can never be yes. It can never be no. It can never even be maybe. It's literally, I can't have thoughts about something that there's no inclination of existing, but there's nothing. We don't know if it exists. We don't know if it doesn't exist. You know, just because you know something, I don't know. I'm not going to get into the whole quote. It's an unanswerable question. Do I think they'll ever do it? No. But is there any sort of information or any sort of relevance back it up? No. I just think it's unlikely because minions have classically been a non-combat aspect of the jobs. And I don't see it ever changing. It just doesn't make sense to change. And then for question number 2, with the upcoming 4-man Extreme with the Monster Hunter World collab and the upcoming logo system, do you think these might be testing grounds for bringing either of these systems to dungeons or normal trials later? No. I think what Final Fantasy XIV really wants, they want the core gameplay experience, which is what you'll experience in the standard dungeon, the standard raid. It's what a new player will pick up and, I guess, in quotes, learn from 1 to 70. Debatable. And that's the core skill they'll carry with them throughout the whole game. What they don't want is they don't want the evolution of content in one zone to then be apparent in the rest, because they need content to stand out from one another. Anemos doesn't really stand out from the rest of the game in too many, I guess, it's not, the implications aren't all that important. It's pretty much just, I either do more damage, take less damage, and then I have a whole different leveling system, so whatever. That's it. Those are the only implications. With logos, the idea is to give it more implications to make it stand out more, because that's what their community keeps asking. Hey, give us content that stands out more from the standard dungeon raid, blah, blah, blah. That's what people keep asking for, and with logos, I'm assuming that's what they want to accomplish. Same with the Monster Hunter collab. Like, Monster Hunter collab is more, hey, you know, we want to see how much Monster Hunter-like mechanics we can put in the game, because it's part of a collaboration. And on the Monster Hunter side, the Behemoth does the same thing. You know, he's got very MMO-esque mechanics where he's got like an active cast bar that can be interrupted with flash pods. He's got enmity that, you know, he can use. He's got an enmity bar so you know who's tanking him. He's got the ecliptic meteor. Yeah, it's got things that are reminiscent of 14 in particular, but the MMO genre in general. And then with 14, they want to see if they can replicate it on the other side. It's not stuff that I think they'll use actively. And even so, some of the ideas aren't even that original. Having no aggro is not very original. Like, we've had that on bosses before. It's not super OG, but what's unique is 4-man Extreme Trial. A lot of people, and Yoshida himself admits, have been asking for harder 4-man content. And he said this was the perfect opportunity to provide it. I do feel that if they do find that this is successful and people praise it, I wouldn't, oh, sorry, I dropped my controller. I wouldn't be surprised to see them at least take certain concepts, like, for example, the re-raising feature, or the number of deaths feature, and maybe apply that to something else and use it, I guess, change, you know, make slight modifications to it to make it more fitting so it doesn't just feel like another Monster Hunter event. So that's about the only thing. But I'm hoping that if the testing grounds for more difficult 4-man content, you know, ends up going okay, that they can find ways to incorporate it. I know myself and a lot of other people hope that the Rathalos fight is good, because more so, I wouldn't mind more collaborations between Monster Hunter and 14. Like, I wouldn't mind if a year from now, like sometime between 5.1 and 5.2 or some shit, if they just said, yeah, we're doing another one, and then they just grab another boss from Final Fantasy and another boss from this, and it's like, yo, I'm fucking down. If this one goes really well, I'm down. I'm so down for more of it, because I love the Behemoth encounter in Monster Hunter, as frustrating as it can be, and I'm hoping I'll really like the Rathalos encounter in 14. So that's it. Please, I wouldn't mind more collaborations of this scale, and I specifically wouldn't mind more with Monster Hunter. Question number 4. Hey Haps, hi. I hope you're doing well. I am. Hope you're doing well as well. I'm a long-time follower, but a first-time asker. Well, let's see what you got. Question 1. I'm enjoying Heaven on High, but compared to Palace of the Dead, it seems easier. I'm not one to do really hard content, but I may have to try 31 to 100. I noticed in Palace of the Dead and also in Heaven on High that the target circles are different than on the outside. There's no indicator to let me know what's the front and the rear. Does that mean Ninja can ignore positionals? Does that mean I have to guess? So I'll answer the first one. It seems easier. Well, it's because you don't have to go through as many floors. There are some mobs in there that are still pretty nasty from the 1 to 30. But for Palace of the Dead, 1 to 30 in Heaven on High is equal to 1 to 100 in Palace. And so much more can go wrong going from 1 to 100 in Palace of the Dead than what generally goes wrong in Heaven on High from 1 to 30. Also, because of that, 1 to 20 is like the equivalent of 1 to 50, and 21 to 30 is like the equivalent of 51 to 100. So a lot of the times, it's not so much that it feels easier. I'd say that the bosses on average are actually probably easier in Heaven on High, so that one factor, but it's just because you're not spending as much time in there. Doesn't take, 2, 3, 4 hours to go through all these floors. Instead, it just takes you one run, and you can maybe do that run in like 15-20 minutes, maybe even less. So it's more so that it's just not as time consuming. As for the second aspect, anytime there's no target reticle around a monster, it means they're what's called omnipositional. You see this in places like Cloud of Darkness, in the World of Darkness 24-man raid. You'll generally see it on large bosses that cannot be turned or faced towards directions. With Palace of the Dead, because there's no guarantee you'll have a tank roll in there when you're actually going through, especially in Pugs, everything in there is omnidirectional, so you never have to worry about positionals in there. Trick Attack will land from any side. All positionals will land from any side. It'll work just fine. As for question number 2, headsets. Hey, you mean this SteelSeries Arctis Pro wireless headset with the discount code MrHappy10? If you're watching on YouTube, that's in the description. Anyway, I really need a monitor function because I can't hear my own voice. Oh, okay, a monitoring function. Okay, if I cover both ears. I notice you always wear one piece off your ear, which I assume is for that reason. No, this is actually because if my girlfriend says, "Hey, Mike, please come here," I want to be able to hear her, so I don't get the storming in here. Hello, Mike. I don't want it, so I just leave one ear out so I can hear things in case of emergencies. I play on PS4. Some audio software to provide a monitor function is not going to happen. Any headsets? No, I don't, because I can't hear my own voice if I cover both of you. I mean, it sounds like I can hear. I guess it depends on how loud you play with it, but like I can hear my own voice right now. I guess you just need to avoid noise canceling headsets. It sounds like a completely noise canceling headsets, which shouldn't be too hard to find. So. No, I don't know any headsets that would allow you to hear your own voice while plugged into a PS4 with feedback loop. I mean, I'm sure there's some crazy wiring stuff you could do, but none that I know of. So that's that. Question number 5. Hey, Haps, I'm going through a little change in 14 from PlayStation to PC. I don't know if that was deliberate or not, but because you pay for both of those things. Anyway. So let's see, we've got 3. We've got about local save data, buttons, layout, macros, about 1 emote, and Tran. I'm worried about that third one. I kind of just want to position. Oh, it's like transition. Okay. That was... Alright, anyway. So how long do you think 14 will be playable on PS4? Until it's playable on PS5. And even then, like, I don't know when PS4 will really be a limiting factor for Final Fantasy 14. It's yet to really appear like it is. They just don't have as many features as PC for one reason or another. So, I mean, until PS5 is an option, and then the next expansion after that. And who the hell knows how many years that will actually be until it's fully developed on PS5. And I 100% believe they will release it on PS5. I 100% believe that. Or whatever the next PlayStation console ends up getting called. Maybe they'll pull an Xbox, they'll call it PlayStation 1. PlayStation 1 PlayStation. I don't know. Stupid name. Anyway, yeah, until PS5 comes out. And then even then, like, till the expansion after. And question number 6. Dear Mr. Happy. Oh, it's like a letter. I feel like it's going to get emotional. I've been asking around... Oh, no, never mind. I've been asking around the raiding community about the current drop meta. Almost every raid group mandates that they have a ninja. I also watched your latest versus, the melee jobs. You see everyone agrees that ninja's trick attack is way too good. Some groups even joke they would take 2 ninjas if there wasn't slower LB gain. That brings me to 2 questions. One, since trick attack has been around, that would feel, dude, I would, you know what, actually, with the way ninja used to work, having 2 trick attacks would really feel like shit, because you'd want to use your cooldowns during your trick attack, like, as second nature, but then there'd be the other one, and then you'd want to hit your trick attack at the end of their trick attack window, so your trick attack benefited from theirs, which cuts a second off of it. There's a whole other thing. Now, without any personal cooldowns outside of Ninki, it actually probably wouldn't even be that, wouldn't feel that terrible, probably. But anyway, since the question, since trick attack has been around, has skill always been that strong? Yeah, it's always been 10%. It's always been, literally trick attacks, I don't think has ever been changed. Maybe the potency of the skill itself was adjusted at some point. I don't know, we've been through so many job changes at this point. Yeah, no, it's always been crazy good. Is there anything Square Enix can do in the future to prevent one or multiple jobs like Ninja from just dominating the raid meta? I mean, generally, the reason why you don't do that now is A, because of the LB generation, but also just because it's kind of, you kind of don't want to index to one form of support. Like, Dragoon's raid support is fantastic. You don't want to just not do that and then have this awkward thing where you're just trying to rotate through trick attacks, which doesn't always work because people don't always have 20-second windows where they can land everything, and then you have to decide if it's just trick attack every time it's the best possible scenario. So do you do it every 30 seconds? So that way people who have 60-second and 90-second cooldowns, they can line up some with one trick attack, some with the... Whereas with Dragoon, I mean, you have... It's... Dude, I love Litany. Bards would never want to give up the consistent DPS increase. Bards and Machinists, the consistent DPS increase of the piercing buff. And then with Monk, I mean, if you're indexing towards a physical, predominantly physical DPS group, then even they provide a pretty solid increase on average with Brotherhood. It's only really Samurai that does the, slashing, and then their personal DPS is what matters most there. So I think as long as the limit break gauge suffers a lot from having repeat drops, I think that's fine. And then if people do want to mess around with it, they do. And honestly, it shouldn't matter anyway, because as long as you're good at the game, it doesn't really matter so much what you bring, so much as who you bring. So, it doesn't matter if someone's on the OP job if they keep trying to trick attack from the flank, It's like, I don't know why my trick attack's not working. Are you doing it from the rear? Oh. I don't even want to give you the chance to fix it. Get out. You should have known. Nope, that's it. You're gone. That's out the door. That's it. I don't want to deal with it. That's it. Anyway, so yeah, no, I think as long as they give a lot of different options that you want to stack simultaneously, as opposed to doing these staggered trick attacks or staggered support tools, then it should be fine. And limit break generation. Anyway, that's the last question that's on the forums. So let's see if Twitch chat has any questions, or if this is going to be a pretty short video. So Twitch chat, what you got? Alrighty then, so the Twitch side of things, we had a few discussions, but there was nothing really Q&A wise to add to the YouTube video, so our verdict is in. It's going to be a shorter Q&A week for those of you on YouTube. So anyway, thank you for watching if you're watching over on YouTube. If you'd like to ask your questions for Mondays with Mr. Happy, go to the description of the video and find the Dream Network forums and then ask your question there. And you'll guarantee that I see it. As long as it's appropriate, I will answer it. There's very few inappropriate questions, but I still screen them. I do a quick screen. I just read the first 2 or 3 lines, or if it's a name I recognize, then I'll be like, all right, that one's perfectly fine. Thank you again to our Patreon sponsors, and thank you again to Twitch chat for not asking any questions for me to include in the video. Awesome. Regardless, actually we had a few decent discussions, but then the discussions I've had a million times before. So anyway, that's going to be a wrap for this episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy, and with the next week's episode, I mean, at that point we'll have 4.36, and we'll have actually a lot of stuff. Everything I named at the beginning. It's going to be an exciting week for me. I'm looking forward to being a little busier than I have been. So anyway, thanks for watching. Twitch chat, I'll hang out for a few more minutes, but on the YouTube side of things, I'll see you next week. And until then, take care.